Thank you everyone. It's getting towards the end of a couple of days, so I appreciate you taking the time to come and listen to what we've been doing at AMD. My boss Alex Brown presented yesterday as one of the keynote speakers, so you get an insight into our company and what we started to do in this space, and I'm going to go in a little bit deeper to why we embarked on an e-procurement journey with Zycus and where we are today on that journey. Again, if you have any questions as I go through this, please don't wait until the end. We'll take any questions on the way. And I'm pleased and proud to say that in the front row here are the three people from my team who really spearheaded this journey. Jason Zycus, Cara Barton, and Kat Barbell, and they'll help with any of the difficult questions that you may have. So as we'll walk through just a little bit about AMD, not a lot because Alex covered it to a great extent yesterday. The business environment that we faced, the challenges that meant to procurement, and then how we did our implementation with the modules that we chose to with Zycus, and how change management is a critical part of that, and what we realised in terms of value. So again, Alex did speak to this yesterday, but for those of you who may have missed it, Advanced Micro Devices, we're headquartered in Sunnyvale, California, but really our CEO and most of his executive staff reside in Austin, Texas, where all of us work and play today. 2012 revenues were $5.4 billion, and you'll see as I go through the presentation, we've faced a lot of challenges regarding the end markets in which we serve and what that means to the revenues for our company. So this was a business environment that we faced. I joined AMD in 2010. Great company, great culture. I've loved every minute of the time that I've been with the company, but we have been through a turbulent business challenge. And we anticipated as a company in 2011, our board, and they started looking at what we're doing as a company, they realized there was going to be a change in the end markets that we serve. And so we started to put in place some changes in leadership that I'll speak to later that allowed us to get better positioned for those changes as they came upon us. Cloud, you hear our CEO, Rory Reid, speaking, he'll talk about cloud being the killer app that changes everything. Our main markets, we're a compute company, and the cloud is just changing everything we do from major corporations to end consumers, and it's a great opportunity for us. So while, yes, it has an immediate impact in terms of our revenue, the opportunities that it gives us long-term position us to be much, much better and win a lot more business than we have history done to date. The key things you think about us being a compute company is that both commercial and consumer spending is moving away from desktops and notebooks, and it's tablets and phablets, and the iPad came along and basically changed everything. And you see walking around an event like this, you'll see it's very rare to see someone pull out even their laptop these days. Everyone's updating and doing what they can on their mobile devices. So that was a huge impact. Given that was our main end market, that was a huge impact. Only Intel and AMD supply x86 processors that goes into compute, and so as the world started to change, that was a significant impact for our revenue. Again, Rory talks about a three-phase turnaround. This is public information that he shares still on the earnings calls and any updates that the executives give to industry analysts. Three phases. The first one was reset and restructure. And again, I'll go into a little bit more detail about what that meant to the procurement organisation. But basically, we had a look as a company and recognising that the world was changing, that we had to adapt. And we had to make some cuts, which was unfortunate to do. No company ever wants to do that. But we had to in terms of being able to survive and get ourselves out of a loss-making situation and start generating positive cash again. Thankfully, that's behind us. We did all that heavy lifting really mainly through 2012. We're then in the accelerate and execute mode. So again, Rory speaks about this so eloquently and passionately, but it's all about us now bottoming out and accelerating out of the turn, going to some of the new markets that we're now starting to play in. again, I'll speak a little bit on the next slide. And it's about execution. You know, because we're going through this change as a company, there are question marks over there about can we pull it off? Can we, in such a short time, manage such a significant change from everything from our sales and marketing teams to our design teams down to our supply chain in terms of getting the products out the door? Thankfully, to date, we've demonstrated every step of the way that we're able to do that, but it's a big challenge for the company. And then finally, it's about our transformation. And if I go to the next slide, what that means. So when we talk about protect and attack our business models, again, our traditional businesses, desktop PCs, notebooks, graphics. AMD acquired ATI, one of the two major graphics companies in 2006, and allowed us to build our new generation of processors that we call accelerated processing units, and basically takes a microprocessor and graphics capability, puts it on one chip. Only company in the world that can do that. And that's been hugely successful for us. But we still want to play in discrete graphics. That's a big, big market for the company. So we want to protect that business, grow our market share where we can, and we're very competitive and bringing out a lot of new products still in that space. But then on the transformation, we talk about these new markets. And to put that into numbers, we stated that in the second half of this year, 20% of our revenue would come from these new markets. And in 2 years' time, in 2015, around 50% will come from those new markets. So any of you that have been with a company of our size trying to manage that kind of transformation, it's a huge challenge, but it's just a great opportunity. And I'm pleased to say that in our Q3 earnings, we demonstrated that we're on target. It's been driven by gaming. We have won, both the Sony PlayStation 4 and the Microsoft Xbox One game consoles. The new game consoles, first one's been out between 5 to 7 years, so it's a huge market, completely different business model for this company, and the number of units that we have to ship and think about it and make sure we hit these critical holiday seasons that are coming up just is really essential. And we demonstrated in Q3 that we're executing. We are unprecedented revenue increase quarter over quarter for a semiconductor company of just over 20%. It's a different model. The margins are different from what we're used to, but there's less R&D involved. It's just a new thing. And the streets out there looking at us and wondering, are we going to come through? But we're demonstrating today that we're on path. Verizon just announced that they designed AMD into their new cloud business. So we acquired a company called C-Micro in 2011, and that's now starting to pay off with the architecture we use there. So that's about AMD, and I spent quite a bit of time speaking about that transformation because it is a critical component to put into perspective of what we've had to do as a procurement organisation to help with that challenge. So what were our challenges? I'm sure many of you have been in similar situations. This is a tough one for all of us to do. So first of all, yes, part of that reset and restructure, we had to reduce our headcount. And from Alex's presentation, you'll have seen we already knew from every benchmark that's been done with AMD over the years that we run a very lean organisation in procurement. Our headcount is well below average. So we already knew we were in a situation where we didn't have any luxury in terms of our global headcount, but we had to reduce. And that was the reality of every single organisation within the company. So that was the first challenge. Along with that challenge, when you reduce headcount, there's always discussion about, well, what are the things you can stop doing? But in reality, that's a really difficult thing to do. The expectations are high on you and your team. We are, within the company, recognised as being a really good team and organisation, and we want to maintain that. So the expectations didn't change. In fact, more importantly than ever, when you think about what we were facing financially, we had to take cost out. We had to take cost out of the gross margin, so our direct materials teams had to go work with the suppliers, value engineering, negotiations, whatever we can do to find ways that suppliers can help us to get out cost. In the indirect space that I manage, we to help get all the G&A, all the R&D. We work IT, engineering, marketing. Every organisation has their budget cut. How could we help them manage within those lower spend numbers and still able to get the same services that they had before. And then in our factories, we still have back-end manufacturing sites in Penang and Suzhou. We've got to get those costs down. So procurement team supporting all of those areas under Alex and the challenges to help the company get through this reset and restructure phase. And procurement organisation is one of those ones that reaches out the four walls of the company. We're the face of AMD as we're out there speaking with our suppliers. And as they're seeing this change in model, they've got some questions. They're used to the AMD of old. They understand their success story. They know what it takes and why they wanted to be part of, to be a supplier to AMD. So we had to make sure that we understood the story, that we could articulate to suppliers what was happening, that we would dispel any risks or concerns they had with the company, and in fact motivate them to really want to do business with the AMD future and what happens. And one thing I will tell you that's not in the presentation is, you truly find out which suppliers are key to you and truly believe in AMD and truly believe in the procurement organisation and help you to be successful. And we've had 2 or 3 suppliers that really stepped up to the mark in direct and indirect and helped the company and lots of ideas about how they could come and take out costs. And they've been rewarded with more business and more market share, and that's truly helped us build some true success stories with our suppliers. So that was a challenge that we faced in procurement. So what are the things that we were doing about it? So one of the first things is that reduce headcount. How do we improve efficiency with what we do? Right? Whether that be sourcing, whether that be purchasing, what can we do to help the team? Our goals, as we stated earlier, were increasing. We had less people to be able to support those goals. So how do we make things smarter for our teams to be able to go and be successful? I had joined the company there in 2010, and one of the observations I had in my first 30 days was just that we did not have a good handle on our global spend. We had fantastic sourcing managers. We did a great job. We delivered well in terms of achieving and exceeding our savings targets above industry benchmarks. But I couldn't get easily a handle on how many suppliers we had, where were we spending our money, information to give our stakeholders when they asked about any spend information. Pulling reports from SAP, we're an SAP house, and pulling reports from BW is not an easy thing to do. We had 1 or 2 skilled people in the organisation, and that was it. And every time I got a report, it was different. Everyone was different from the other. So I already recognised the need. With the reduction in headcount and with the increase in goals, it became a necessity. So it really moved that forward to say, hey, we have to get a solution here, particularly on the indirect space. Direct is a lot more managed, a much smaller number of suppliers, they're all qualified within those areas, so more of an issue in the indirect space. And then as we look to do that, I've spoken to many of you here, and I know you share the same challenges that we have at AMD, is we don't have a systems team within procurement. I think many years ago there used to be one, but for a long time now, we didn't have one. And when you want to go and implement something new, what certainly the analytics solution was and is, that's a big ask of your team to go and ask some folks to step up and reduce headcount. They're managing more categories than ever. We're asking to take on additional roles to lead all the different modules we speak about here: analytics, e-sourcing, and supply management. And again, I'm thankful to Jason, Karen, and Kat for accepting those roles and doing just a great job. So that's what we faced. We had to be more efficient. I had to find a solution on the indirect side on our spend, and we had to do it with the resources that we had. So what did we do? We did a very extensive RFP. So first of all, we did a business case. We presented our ROI. We got approval. We got approval to go do it with the minimum budget, but it was, go ahead. We recognise you have a need. Go make it happen. So we did a very extensive RFP. We invited all the leading players to come in. At that time, we're focusing on an analytics solution. So everyone participated, and we selected Zycus at the end of that process, primarily because of the IR lines. They had what we considered, many in the industry considered to be best of breed And so we certainly needed that. So that was one of the main reasons we selected them. But then we also looked at the capability they had in e-sourcing and supply management. You know, we had an old solution from Ariba with no plans to upgrade, and so it was pretty basic in what it could do with very little support. And our supply management tool was homegrown, an old application, no plans from IT to support any development within that tool. So we had an opportunity to bundle a couple of modules with the decision to go with Zycus on analytics. We put an agreement in place at the end of June in 2011, and we determined that the go live was going to be at the start of 2012. With our resourcing, it had to be. You know, we weren't going to continue the license with Ariba for another year, so that was a given that any sourcing activities had to be on the Zycus platform from the start of the year. Our supplier management phased over. Certainly a question.
You said we could interrupt, right?
Absolutely.
So you built the business case around if you have these tools, you'll get more savings. Was
Yes.
that the concept of it?
Yes. On analytics, that's where we built the business case.
Okay. And so the other two tools you just kind of added in as a need.
Well, we already had costs that we were incurring with both the internal application and the one, so it wasn't an incremental spend.
Okay. And so was there to go from Ariba and retire that tool over to Zycus? Was there also, maybe I'll ask this question offline. Yeah, I'll ask it to you offline.
Okay.
I have a question.
It was the same question.
Could be.
It's net savings. I mean, did you basically cut your budget by going from Zycus over to Ariba?
Yeah, I'll answer that offline.
Okay.
Mine is different, but I just wondered if you considered, you said, you know, every time you use your BW tool, you get different results, so to speak. Did you ever consider putting more resources onto that as well, or?
The answer is no.
Okay.
And really the answer is no because it wasn't a sustainable solution. So it was very dependent on individuals, and so if you train more individuals to do it, and for example, one of the two people we had that was good left their team to join the marketing organisation. The one thing we do is we actually, you know, we have great people on our team who really work well with our stakeholders, and they often get opportunities to those stakeholder organisations. So one of our few people who could run SAP reports suddenly was no longer in their team. So I had to have something which wasn't dependent on individuals, but was a system that was available to everyone to be able to use.
Okay, so you didn't have any stick. Okay.
Again, we can speak offline through that. So when we went through the process, I'm kind of for speaking here. You know, one of the reasons we did select Zycus was what we considered at the time to be the support we would get from them and the flexibility, and we believed they would listen to our needs because we knew that we didn't know, particularly in iAnalyze, exactly what we needed when we started out. We knew that would change as we started using the system, and we had new requirements, and we wanted to have a supplier that would help us along that journey, and that's definitely been proven out with. And I've heard that from a number of other Zycus customers here in the last couple of days. So that truly has been essential for us as we've gone down this path. And so, as I said earlier, Jason, Karen, and Kat led these modules. We did a couple of things. And again, I heard a similar thing from Derek yesterday, the super user concept. We had the leads here in Austin, but Alex is a global organisation, so we had lead individuals in each of the sites that we have to step up and be that key player in each of the different modules. So we had a super user team for analytics, for sourcing, and for supply management. Zycus provided great training, so we made that training available. Zycus came on site and spent a lot of time training our teams also. But we also, the three leads here developed our own computer-based training. So training was really essential, how we get people up and understanding how to use the process. So we basically went in 6 months live with every module. The most challenging by far was iAnalyze. So I'll talk at the one at the bottom here first. For us, what was essential to us was we had within IT, we had an evangelist, the same as us, that understood the need for an analytics solution, that understood what it could provide, that knew how we could build that data transfer from our SAP BW across to Zycus. And they did the program management, so they really helped us manage that activity extremely well. So if you're going to do something of this size, particularly when you don't have your own systems team, that relationship with IT was really, really essential. And I say, in particular, the person who led it from an IT perspective worked with us hand in hand from day one, and it was truly instrumental and key to making sure we could deliver. Trusted data, incidentally, remains a challenge. Our data set isn't nearly as complex as some of the ones that I've heard this week. I see Cargo coming in the room, and here and there, 9 million to spend, and 30 different data sets they're going to manage. I mean, that's just completely different. But even with ours, it's a challenge to make sure, and we have a monthly feed, that every month we send the correct data. And it's a difficult thing to understand what you're doing, and you've got to quickly understand and grow things. So trusted data was really key. Back up to the top. Yeah, questions?
With your integration with SAP, do you do a monthly refresh, or is it, how often do you send the data?
Yeah, we do a monthly refresh.
Okay.
And we do quarterly we do across the global team, we do a report out. And the reason we do monthly as opposed to just sending it quarterly, again, that accuracy of data. All the category managers go in every month and validate the data, and there will be some misclassification of the category codes, etc. So if we waited just every quarter to do it, you get 4 chances a year, right? It's just not enough. So really, every 2 months, every 3 is all making sure the data is accurate and ready for that report out. Senior match strong support is essential. Again, you heard from Alex yesterday. He absolutely supported us all along the way. We're the ones that drove it. We're the ones that said this is what needs to happen. But his commitment with his senior VP was essential for us to move these things along. What you see there, discuss, decide, embrace, and execute, is part of what we call the AMD way. It's a culture that Rory Reid has driven down through the organisation since he joined in 2011, and that's exactly what we did here. But again, whatever you're going to do in this space, you've got to have that strong support. And again, the big part of what you heard from Alex was building on our business processes. Again, like everyone else, we have our 6-step process, or 5-step process, or 7-step process. We've all got those processes. If you don't, I strongly encourage you to get it. You can't build this on anything other than a strong foundation of business process. So we already had that in place, and so it was able for us to go and build on that and put the solution that was going to operate effectively. Continuous improvement is part of what we do. We actually report into the Senior VP of Global Operations. And I've known John for many, many years, and the whole mantra is about, it's never good enough. We'll recognise and thank and congratulate and reward teams for what we achieved, but we're always searching for the next thing. That's sometimes a challenge to people that join our company and join our organisation, that we're always reaching out for that next opportunity. But that's really what drives us forward. And so as we looked and we learned from each of these modules, and again, that's we're talking about the relationship with Zycus is really important here, because we saw opportunities for improvement, and we needed modifications made to each of the different modules to allow us to realise those opportunities. And thanks to Zycus, they really have helped us. It's helped them develop the tool, so any new customers get the benefit of some of those things that we recognise as opportunities. But it really helped us to make sure that we get the best value that we can from each of the modules. And so here's the 3 modules that we did. So and I analysed, again, the most challenging for us because it was new. We do one comprehensive view now of global spend. Alex can look across at any time across the entire company and see who we spend money with, where we spend money, what are the trends. We just have complete visibility into what's happening there with the spend across the company. We had that to an extent with direct materials earlier, but this puts everything now into the one view. The user interface is really good. Zycus have just upgraded the user interface, which makes it even better with the drag and drop features. But it's it helped to run reports. And again, we're talking about asking our really good category managers to now be really good analysts, and that's a challenge for many of them. Many don't have an aptitude for it, don't really have a desire to go look at data. They struggle because I do, and so I'm always there running reports and challenging the team. But it really is easy. Any stakeholder asks us for information about any spend, we can get it in minutes. It's so simple to get that information. And it's invaluable once you get it. You actually forget how bad it was before you just couldn't get that information. From our CEO down, we're always getting requests on who we spend money with and what's happening, and it's good to know that we've got trusted data that we can easily go and run that information from. And then the bottom point is, again, something that we do, which is about standard work. So Alex mentioned that, from a company perspective, Lean Six Sigma is a big part of what we do. And so from that, we believe a lot in standard work. And we have a lot of, Jason and I discussed this quite a lot, because part of what you truly get, if you've really got a great analytics team, then part of what you get is the creativity. Right? So you really don't want to discourage people from going in and being able to find their own ways of where they can get opportunities to improve pay terms, or find opportunities for savings. But at the same time, everyone globally doesn't have that skill set. So we've developed standard work, and that's part of our report out, that everyone around the globe reports up through their manager on their different spend areas, and Alex can review that with his global team. So that's what we've been doing within the area of iAnalyze. Within iSource, all of our RFX activity goes through this tool. Right? As I say, we were using Ariba before, we moved here. Carl did a great job in terms of that transition. There were several teething problems. People were used to running events before, and now they something a little bit different to use, but there were really no major hiccups. There was nowhere we couldn't run an event because we were transitioning from one tool to another. Again, not really a huge amount of IT work was required here in the supply management. It's a cloud solution, so they really didn't have any great involvement. It was really down to Carl's leadership here that allowed that to happen. It works for us real well. We, again, we've worked with Zycus over the years to look to try and improve how we do it. We'll talk a little later about some of the results we've got from it, but it's just part of what we do, and the transition was excellent. And then the iPerform, which we used to be called SPM, again, we were coming here from a very old homegrown tool that was truly basic in its capability. So it was actually great for the team to be able to get this new capability provided by Zycus. Again, Kat here did a great job in managing that transition for everyone to move across. And supply management has been a critical part of the strategic sourcing process under Alex. More for direct materials, it lends itself really well to direct. In fact, when I come in and indirect, we were not doing supplier management. And Kat's actually led that program for the indirect materials team, such that we are, we now use that, we do our segmentation, and all of our key suppliers are tier 1 and tier 2 go through this process. So we've turned it around and indirect, use the process much more effectively, and having a good tool out there, such as this. The challenge we always have with supplier scoring is getting stakeholders to score and provide meaningful comments to those scores. And this tool's enabled us to help. You still got to pull people along, but there's much less argument about how they can do it when the tool's so easy for them to use.
So in your iPerform implementation, are you drawing in any information from SAP as far as on-time delivery or any of those kind of?
We bring in the spend information from iAnalyze.
So you bring in spend, but
On time, in terms of the direct material guys, I don't know what they track in terms of on-time delivery. I mean, in indirect we don't have on-time delivery per se. What we actually do, how we drive the program, is it's all about continuous improvement. So the way our process works is, and it's managed here within iPerform, is so we have quarterly or biannual reviews with the suppliers. There's a continuous improvement plan agreed by the supplier and AMD during that process. And that's the first thing we kick off the next meeting with. How have they performed in all of those continuous improvement areas? So which ones are closed, which ones are not, and we'll extensively review those before we move on to the new opportunities that are arisen from the latest scores. So but I'll find out what we do on the direct side. We're pulling that information.
So is there integration between iPerform and your ERP system?
No. So in terms of the value we realise, I have a couple of slides left now. So again, all of our supply management scorecards are carried out in iPerform. You know, the usability and collaboration just leaps and bounds from where we were, and it's again allowed us an indirect to really step up and make it a key part of our strategic sourcing process, the way that it has been with already with the direct material suppliers. And we use this, we hold a supplier day every year on campus in Austin, and we recognise some of the key performers from the year in terms of the scoring. It ties exactly back to the scoring that took place through the year. So this is a really pivotal element, and all of those suppliers get it and understand that hey, if they want to be one of those suppliers that's recognised, then this is how they do it through this process. And actually this year, for the first time ever in the history of AMD, we recognised 2 indirect suppliers from their performance, and it was great to get them up on the stage and show that this isn't, supply management isn't just about the direct material side. All of our resourcing is done within iSource. It drives consistently average savings better than benchmark. And I make a comment here with regional teams. When e-sourcing kicked off many years ago, there was a lot of resistance to it, not only from suppliers, but also from source managers as they were getting used to encouraging suppliers to participate, etc. When we look across the global organisation, we're seeing, particularly the teams in China, using it to the best value. We actually do benchmarking sessions with them about how we can, they run more auctions than anyone else within their organisation. So how do they do that? Why has it become part of their process? So it's been really encouraging. We tend to think everything comes back to North America here, but we've actually seen the opposite within our resourcing area. And then finally, iAnalyze. One of the major success stories that we've had today, and again, I think Cargo spoke to this yesterday, was pay terms. There's a really easy one to pick up. Which suppliers are not in line with our standard pay terms, and that's our focus. It's not about discounts for early payments. Our focus with the treasury team is to help on the working capital by increasing their DPO as much as possible. So we actually, one of our senior managers led a lean program around this process and delivered a terrific result. I think it was $40 million in terms of working capital improvement we got by pushing those suppliers that were not at our standard terms to those terms by having the visibility in iAnalyze. The efficiency gains are huge. Again, if you think back to a challenge, we had a much smaller team. Whenever I would try and get information before, this is particularly to indirect spend, it was a huge challenge. People would spend almost an entire day trying to get that information. And so now that we've got our fingertips, it's just a given now in terms of what we do. And we truly could not have achieved what we have done with such a small team if we hadn't put it in place and allowed this to be the easy part of what we do, looking for information. And then this whole consolidated view of global spend, again, as a company, we've never had that. We now have it. We've still got opportunities to make more use of that data, but just having it in place it's a huge win for the procurement organisation from Alex down. And Alex showed this yesterday, but I wanted to show it again. And in particular, if you look into the last, since 2012, when we've implemented this solution. If you look at such a significant reduction in our procurement labour costs. Again, if you think about how we respond to that challenge, when you look at our savings number, kept pretty flat through that time period. So we way less people. Huge impact to the number of people we had in this organisation, but we were still able to achieve, with lower spend, a significant level of savings to the company because we'd invested in these technologies. And no surprise when you get an analytics solution, you get visibility into your supply base, and you can immediately go with making smart decisions, reduce that and get it into a more manageable spend and leverage that spend with a smaller number of suppliers. So again, Ali showed it yesterday, but again, you just think about what we've done since 2012 with a significantly smaller team. We could not have achieved this without the investment that we made in the 3 modules with Zycus. So in terms of my closing message, the first one is consistent that you've heard both from Alex and myself throughout this is just do not underestimate the need for a strong business process. As soon as we made the investment in iAnalyze, we got together with our lean team and we worked on the processes we had and how we can improve them and take this into play. Again, IT was a key part of what we were doing there. And so if you're going to go down this path on any major change, business process is absolutely essential to success. The second state of the course, we kind of heard that today from Archie Manning, who tuned you with a tremendous selection for the guest speaker. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. And I heard that a couple of times from Archie as he was speaking to this, and it really is true. There are many times as we went down this path, particularly on the analytics side, that there really seem to be so many challenges to what we're doing, reducing headcount, just things we're just hitting us left, right, and centre. But you stay the course, you can absolutely overcome any issue that comes your way. And so if you go down again this journey, just keep remembering that. And I think the quote was something like, at the end of a storm is the sunshine. The sun will shine at the end of a storm, that Archie said. And that ran home with me, and it's what we think of as we look at the kind of things we've taken on, such as this. And then finally, pick a good partner. We've been delighted with the choice of Zycus. It took us a long time. It was a very thorough and comprehensive RFP, but the support and flexibility that we anticipated when we selected Zycus has actually proven to be very, very true, and we genuinely could not have got the value that we have today with each of these modules without the support that we've had from Zycus. And so we really want to thank them, and we look forward to working more with them in the future as we continue down on this journey. Thank you.